the differences between American English and British English when it comes to spelling?
Okay, there are several things that define American and British English in spelling. I would say generally the Americans do it phonetically. What that means is they spell it like it sounds a little bit more. An example could be the word realize. Realize in American is spelled R-E-A-L-I-Z-E, but in English we replace the Z with an S. So actually it doesn't look like it sounds in British English. Also another example could be with monologue, for example. Monologue has quite a long, unusual spelling. It ends in O-G-U-E, but in American the U and E disappears and it just becomes O-G at the end of that word. And lastly, I would say a very common one that we use in the UK is the word meter, for example, or kilometer. That would end in RE in British English, and in American it would be ER. My advice would be with spelling, it's especially appropriate in writing to be consistent, so you must know the difference between the American side and the British side. You cannot mix them up because we need consistency depending on who you're sending it to.
So can you teach us how to pronounce words in British?
Okay, so British English has some very unique sounds. One of them is the silent R. An example of a word would be better. I usually say better if I exaggerate it, and an American would say better. They roll the R a little bit. It's unique to the British to have it go up at the end of their word. Another example could be in that same word, a British person would say water. So we have a hard T, but also an American would change that to a D slightly, a soft D, and it would become water. That is a very unique thing to America, but not all Americans say it, but generally they do. And the last thing that I have for you would be the stress on some syllables to change the way the word sounds. My example would be in British English, I would say advertisement. So the stress is on the ver. But in American, they say advertisement. So the stress is on the ad. Another example could be schedule versus schedule. Americans say schedule. British people should say schedule. But to conclude this, in speaking, it's not as much of a problem. I even find myself doing some American sounds and British sounds mixed up. It's whatever you feel comfortable with.